you were his ohana, his family. Um, his friends were his family. Really, were his real family. Um, I met Jim on a photo shoot, of course. The photo shoot was going to be 7 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night. So I said, yeah, I'll be there. And 7 o'clock that morning in Sacramento, when I walked into the big studio for the shoot, and I saw him, it was love at first sight. And 3 months later, we were living together. And we lived together for 15 years. And it changed my life. The thing about Jim, well, one of the many things about Jim was he was the ultimate optimist. Everything was not just going to be okay, it was going to be awesome. It was going to be great. And I just love that about him. He also made everything fun. No matter what you were doing, it had to be fun. And he made it fun. He loved his friends. He loved image making. Talented photographer. And it was his ability to make people feel special, like you were the most amazing person he had ever met. And he meant it. It was authentic. It was sincere. He believed in people. He believed in ideas, but he believed in people more. And I will always love Jim. His last text to me the night he passed was, "I love you, Marie, and I'll see you on the other side." I want to end on a funny story. There are many funny stories about Jim. One of the ones that just come to mind because here we are in LA, Hollywood, just next door. We lived just right down the street on Montana, and I was making dinner, and he said, "Well, you want me to go out and walk down to Pavilions and get a bottle of wine?" I said, "Yeah, sure, okay." So he walks down a couple blocks, and when he walks in, he sees two bottles of wine in the cold case. And he reaches in to get both bottles, but then he hears a voice behind him, and this voice says, "Are you going to take both those bottles?" And he turns around, and it's Gene Hackman. And if you know Jim, you know his humor. And he doesn't miss a beat. And he said, "I loved you in Star Wars, man." And Hackman looks at him and says, "I wasn't in frickin' Star Wars." And he didn't say anything. And so Jim said, "Yeah, here." He goes, "Well, is it any good?" He goes, "Just take it." So he gave me a bottle of wine. Anyway, he came home and told me that story. That sticks out. So anyway, if anyone else would like to say something, please do.
Half my name. First time I met him, he was one of the first meetings. And he and I worked together for, I don't know, maybe 20 years, on and off, on various projects. Take pictures of my family. He took a picture of my wife and I walking on the beach before we ever had kids. We have that picture. It's in our house. I see it every day, right? I see the gym every day because it's on the shelf. thing I loved about him, one of many things, is how much he wore his emotions right there out on the stage. You know, when he said hi to you, you know he was saying I love you. He was like breaking down, and his emotions were right there. They were just he was present, and it was very inspiring to be around him because he was so authentic. And the other quality I really loved about him was his calm voice. You know, sometimes you had to like lean in to hear him because he was such a soft spoken, and it was, I think, intentional. You know, he was like wanting to be close. And then I loved his laugh. Like, it was just like everything else, authentic. And it's a perfect spot to have this memorial. So thank you.
We call Jim Jiminy Cricket because if I ever talk about people, I'm just the first person, the only person that really, is this close enough? Right there? Okay. The first person that I would call, whether it was good news or bad news, it was always Jim. He was always my guiding light, and I saw him do that with a lot of people here. Some of the people that he's worked with at St. Lee's, he'd always do, I know this guy Art. Oh, he's really he just talk people up. He really, really liked people. And when he told me stories about, you know, some of the people that I've seen here, he's like, oh, you got to meet this guy, you know, he's got this amazing telescope, you can see the sky, or, you know, all these people. He thought the best of everybody. And so by the time Jim was telling me about somebody, I felt like I was meeting a celebrity. And that's how important everybody was to him. And I really, I think that place never will be filled. And I'd always say things like, I could go for a heaping bowl of jambalaya right now. You know, like, and his laugh, man, that, you sent me a laugh, and I was like, I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to hear his laugh again, but getting that on video was awesome. But anyways, like, I just reiterate how much he loved everybody, not just a story about him, but like, he thought everybody was so damn special, and like, he's like, no, you don't understand. This person's amazing. Like, he really loved people, and so it's good to see some of those faces here, and yeah, and we love you, Jim, and we'll never be the same without you.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I started working with Jim when he first worked at Brown and Caldwell. I'm trying to remember what year that was. 2003. Yes. I worked at a firm with Jim. I was there for almost 25 years, but I worked with Jim and Art for a very long time. And we became friends instantly. He was our photographer for the entire company. Always making jokes whenever you saw him. And he really helped me come out of my shell, which is kind of shocking because I'm a little unknown. But I've had the pleasure over the last many years, he would film me doing training videos for cow trends. And I gotta tell you, I like a mic. Having a camera shoved in your face is much different. So he would have the funniest jokes and things to like catch you off guard, to make you laugh, and then somehow get that shot. And always had his little white powder brush on her face, you know. And we had a lot of jokes. We may have worked with some people in the past that we didn't totally get along with. Maybe some of you here know one. He loved to just kind of gab after work. He was so great. He did a documentary on hairdressers last couple of years, and he interviewed one of my best friends who was a hairdresser and got her great clips that she used in promotion. I mean, he was always thinking about other people. Like I agree, said here, is he was always thinking about how to rise other people up, and I always think about that because he truly was a positive person, and I miss him so much.
My life when I moved down here to LA. If you don't know about moving to LA, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It takes quite a bit of time to get integrated into the city and locate yourself in it. I got to interview with Michael Drennan over there. And even in the interview, Michael Drennan called me that night, I think, and said, "Oh, we want to make sure we're going to hire you." I don't know if you remember that, but you did. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." And so he said, "You're going to share this office with this guy." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And I'm younger and naive. And so I'm thinking, "Oh, no, I hope this guy isn't going to be mad at me about sharing an office with him." It was very intimidating for me to go share this office, you know, and going to the first day of work and like, "Hi, I'm going to share your office." And he was just so immediately like, took all of that away, like within 3 seconds. And you were like, I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. And he just made the first day of work just such a delight and made me feel so at ease. Because, you know, when you go to your first day of your work, you don't know what you're doing and you feel awkward. But he just made it so fun instantly. And it was such a delight. And it really was surprising to engage with a person with that level of personal approach. And he was just made it really fun and laughter, lots of laughter, I remember. And we worked together for quite some time, and we had so many fun adventures. And he was the guy who would take us out, you know, for lunch, and we'd go getting the burritos, and then we'd order a little margarita on the side. Or, you know, we go and having sushi, little sake sushi lunch days, and we're all like, "Oh, we're having sake at lunch." But it was like those events where you're like, are we okay to do this? Let's just do it. Let's just have fun. And it was fun. And we had such a great time together. And he just really knew how to live the moment and make life fantastic. He did whatever he could to deliver on that. And yes, again, of course, his laughter was infectious. And yeah, the way he would speak to you. But what I really was also in his speaking, what was so fantastic about Jim was his listening. I was always amazed at how he really listened to what you were saying and wasn't thinking about what to say back to you. You know, he was just really listening to you with a blank slate, and then was able to offer something magical that you wouldn't have thought anybody else would have said to you. So yeah, he was a great guy, and he will be missed. Thank you.
One of the best things I've ever done in my whole, it starts with them. Drinking. What? Was I stole this hat from him. He used to wear it. It says, "Dead inside." Oh. Let me ask you one more time. Let's give him the biggest round of applause he ever deserved.
My name is Carla. So I met Jim at MITT, which is a program for self-discovery. And we quickly became friends. And on our journey, learning about ourselves. And Jim and I talked almost every single day for years, and I agree with everything that everyone has shared, that he's such a unique guy, and so compassionate and so present, and I agree, so optimistic. I didn't always know what was going on in Jim's world. But he was always very present and made himself very available in his friendships, and I appreciated that. And he was always who he was, and he was unapologetic about his feelings and where he stood, and it was so refreshing because you always knew that you were getting an authentic conversation in person. And he will truly be missed. He sent me a text message that was just a street lamp with no context at all. And that's Jim, and I'm going to say that. And you will really be missed. And I have to say, Marie, the cadence of how you speak is so similar to his. It's really, it speaks to how many years you guys spent together. It's really beautiful because there was I don't know if anyone noticed this, but there was a cadence to his voice that was very unique, and it's really beautiful to see that something there is still. So I will miss Jim, and I know he's still with us, and he's still very interested in our lives, and I know that he's still showing up for us, and I'm here to celebrate his life, and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
So, I met Jim in the wisdom course. I was doing his welcome call, and he was registered with the wisdom course. He was pretty easy to deal with back then. And then I got to be good friends with Marie and Jim when they moved to Hawaii. And the one thing I remember about him, he was very authentic and very willing. Like, he was just a willing guy, like willing to transform himself, look at himself, do different things, explore new things. And I always found that inspiring because he had for a life's work photography, and I did it as a hobby. So I was always fascinated, and of course you do too, Marie. I went on her tours many times to some people in Hawaii. But they've been in this is a funny story, but they were at my house for Christmas Eve one year, and I made prime rib, and it was my first time making prime rib. And I was like, isn't this prime rib a little salty? No, everyone's like, no. And then Marie and Jim were like, no, it's a little salty. I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me the truth. I thought it was, right? But no one else would say anything. They're like, oh no, it's so good. I'm like, it feels like a little bit too salty to me. Those two were like, Marie, it is too salty. And I was like, thought so. Thank you for telling me the truth. Yeah. Oh, but those were the kind of friends they are, and that's the kind of friendship was, right? Like, you can count on them to tell you the truth when you're really like inquiring about it, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, because the next time I made it, I didn't want it to be as salty, right? So, but that's kind of the memory that always sticks. And then he called me in January, right? Because I created the course I'm leading, and he sends me these text messages, and I talk to him, and the last memories in my mind of him is still that willingness. Like, he didn't even start the conversation with what he's been going through. He just starts talking to me about he sends me a text. When you said that, I looked back at my phone to see the last text he sent me, because I was like, I wonder what the last text said that he sent me. And it was on January 5th, the text. He sent me messages that were pictures after that. But the text said, I want to talk to you about joy and abundance.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. It's like such a testament, right, to who he is. And his like positivity until the end, right? Like, you didn't even tell me, I found out from you. The very craziest thing happened. I'm in Hawaii. I'm in a grocery store. Jim hasn't texted me in years. Like maybe 3 years or more. I get a text from him, and she's standing right in front of me, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look at her, I said, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. And she's like, well, how are you? Because I haven't seen her in years. And I said, Jim just texted me, and like, you're in front of me. Like, that's kind of bizarre, right? So anyway, that's how I reconnected with her, reconnected with him in January after a few years. But it's just just very serendipitous. And, I wanted to really come honor someone who really had a sacred, beautiful life, beautifully talented. And I think it's always interesting to come to experiences like this when someone leaves and goes to the other side, because it's like we could be really sad, and there's a part that's also really sad, and then there's a part that's like he's still joyful all the way to the end, and it just has me like wonder like what if had him that happened, right? Like even in the last days, it's just a very beautiful, inspiring experience to witness. So, nice to meet
I've probably known Jim longer than anybody here. I've maybe known Jim longer than 53 years. I can't tell you the first time I met Jim because I don't remember. But I've known him my whole life. And he is definitely my favorite uncle. My mother and her younger sister is in charge of his memorial. Yeah, I don't see them here because they weren't good to Jim. And Jim was one of the best people I've ever known. The last couple of years, he called me sometimes twice a week. And we talked for like till 4 in the morning. My bedtime was 9:30. Yeah, but I couldn't. I just enjoyed it to him. And I don't have a lot to say because I know what I have with Jim. I don't have to convince anybody else of that. But I really love my Uncle Jim. And the night he died, I called him. Well, he died. The night he hurt himself, I called him. And I got a text from my mom the next day. He didn't answer the phone, obviously. But the next day, my mom's like, oh, he's brain dead, da-da-da. And I know that he in the hospital about a week later. The doctor, he started reacting to stuff. And the doctor said, if you want to live, squeeze my hand twice. And he squeezed the doctor's hand twice. So I know he was still there. He wasn't brain dead, but I from rambling. But Jim was absolutely amazing. He would say stuff. I remember since I was a little kid, he said, "See you on the flip side." Last year I was having a hard time with something. I told him, I'm thinking about checking out early right now. It's like, well, I want your bike. That'd be nice. Because I have a really badass Harley. It's like, I want your bike. I'm like, right on, Jim. It is awesome. He was awesome. He knew me, so he knew that's all right. It's just stuff. Who gives a shit? I don't care about his stuff. It's a bunch of stuff. I like my wife and my dog and stuff. Other than everything in life is a way to get through life, right? It's all just stuff to get through life. Money doesn't fucking, none of it matters. It's just way to get through life. Like 2 years ago, he called me after like a few years of not talking to him. He goes, "What are you thinking about right now?" I lied to him because I didn't want to tell him what I was thinking about right then, which was, never mind. Anyways, something to do with, anyways. So he's like, but he tried to convince me the world has to hear your voice. He told me you're the funniest person by far that I've ever known in my entire life because I'm freaking funny. But he told me when you were a little kid, you were like just 4 or 5, and you'd say something at a family gathering, and the whole family would look at you like, what a weirdo. Because it was profound, like beyond what they understood, which is sad because that's usually a sign of trauma. But he was like, the world has to hear your voice. You have to do a podcast, which I haven't done because going through the learning curve. But he's awesome. And then I talked to my little sister recently. He told me I was the funniest person he's ever known. She goes, yeah, he told everybody that. I'm like, oh. But what she meant was, he was telling everybody that I was the funniest person he'd ever met. I'm like, oh, that's profound, actually. That's really nice. Like, he told everybody that. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. I guess running with a anyways, but anyway, but I'm gonna go.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? All right, well, thank you, everybody. Hey, glad you could make it. So thank you for coming. Jim left you all very dearly. You were family. You were Ohana. Yeah. So, thank you. I know many of you came from afar. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing beautiful stories of Jim and who he was, who he was, who he is. You know. So somebody said it earlier. His spirit's still here. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's right. That's right. So please give you're free to take a candle with you. You're free to take a candle with you. And then, of course, I hope everybody got a. Thank you, Dana. Okay. I hope everybody got one of these. So feel free to take that. And then some of us are going to walk down Montana. And anyone is. Are we all going to do Father's office? I think that's what it was. Father's office. Yeah. Oh, that's about what, 4 blocks, 4 or 5 blocks. Oh, it's a hike.
10 blocks.
10 blocks.
Yeah. It's 11 to Montana.
Okay, can everybody do 10 blocks? Or should we pick another place? No?
Be there.
Okay, be there, be there. Okay, all right, Father's office. Okay, see you there? All right, thank you.